Hello, I'm Aziz Hanifa, the Executive Editor of India Abroad, and welcome to another episode of The Trailblazers, an interview series showcasing stories of Indian American immigrants from different fields of endeavor. Today, our guest is Dr. Kiran Patel, renowned cardiologist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. Hello, Kiran. Welcome to our series, The Trailblazers. And it's such a pleasure to be with you in your lovely home by the bay in Tampa.
Thank you for having me, Aziz.
By any measure, Kiran, you have been an amazing philanthropist and entrepreneur, not just in the Indian American community, but also in the mainstream American community. I remember you from decades ago when you were the president of the American Association of Physicians of Indian origin. And when you came with your wife Pallavi as immigrant physicians to the US, did you ever think that you would become this bigger philanthropist and an entrepreneur? How did it all start? What was the journey like?
Thank you, Aziz, for having me. It was truly a journey. I had always had an inspiration from my dad, who had brought us up in a manner to be a useful citizen of a community. And I always wanted to be a part of the community. I wanted to be involved in them. The magnitude is an evolution. When we initially came to Tampa, we focused on having a Gujarati Samaj, then an India Cultural Center and Hindu temple. So the initial focus was beyond the family to the community, Indian American community, to ensure our culture and heritage is preserved. Beyond that, with time, I moved to India and started a hospital there, school there, and many, many projects in India, and then to the mainstream America. I say that my Janma Bhumi is Zambia, my Matru Bhumi is India, and my Karma Bhumi is America. And it is my responsibility to give back to all the Janma Bhumi, Matru Bhumi, and Karma Bhumi. And I am one of those fortunate ones who has been able to do so.
And in those early years when you were a cardiologist and your wife, Pallavi, I believe, was a pediatrician, did you ever imagine that your American journey would be so impactful? And would you say that you've lived the American dream and then some?
I think what the heights we have reached is beyond imagination. I don't think we could have ever imagined this, but this home that you see, I had acquired in 1982.
Yeah.
So, as you can see, over 37 years, I am at a beautiful location like this. I was always entrepreneurial and risk taker that made things happen. So in those early days, to own a home like this was not possible for most people, but I was able to do it. And that was because of my calculated risk that I take. I had always dreams to be a community leader and be part of community, but to be known nationally and internationally for my activities was not even a thought in my mind. I had always thought I'll do something in my father's village and I'll do something in Tampa. But I have been able to do a lot more than that.
I was there at the NSU campus that you and your wife Pallavi endowed, the schools of medicine, the schools of nursing that are named after you. And you spoke very emotionally about your dad and his concept of dreams, the realization of dreams, etc. Can you speak to that?
My dad has been my role model right from day one. So if somebody asks me who is your role model, he is my role model. My mother was responsible in imbibing culturally home prayers, things of that type, so that we become a better citizen. Now, unfortunately, I lost my dad at age 74, when he was 74, which in my opinion is a very young age.
Sure.
Emotionally, I am very much tied to my dad, and although I lost him several years ago, he's a central figure in my life, in my actions, in my dreams. So whenever I do some things, he has been a continuous inspiration for me. He had a dream to build a hospital in his village. And in 94, when I did not have that much means, I had to borrow money from the bank to build that hospital. So my internal desire was there to fulfill his dream, and vicariously that project and the response of that from the community was a trigger or a transforming event that led for me to continue many of these projects. I am sure he's watching me from somewhere, but had he been physically present, of course, it's always nice. And that may never happen because all of us have to move on in life.
Rewinding to those early years when both you and Pallavi were immigrant doctors going through internship, residency, etc. Can you speak to people who always had your back, who were your mentors, who rejoiced in the success that you all achieved? Are there anybody in particular? I know your dad was a huge influence and he was sort of the catalyst, but in those early years, those were tough years for immigrant doctors. There were all these problems of licensing, discrimination, hospital privileges, etc. Could you speak to those early years?
I was always a family person. I had no other mentor other than my dad, and I was always a different kind of a person. So, for example, most people out of residency are sending out resumes to several hundred places for where to work. But I had always decided that I'm not going to work for anybody. I would rather start on my own, and that's what I would do. So in 1982, straight out of residency, I bought a practice.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that would have done that.
Yeah.
And not that I had means, because it was the $30,000 of salary that both me and my wife were having. We had 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it was not like I was rolling in dough. But I could always leverage my degrees, MD, both being that and having a partner who is willing to work very hard. And I was never worried of working hard. So when I came to Tampa, A, I had bought a practice right out of residency. B, I bought a $300,000 home, which is a lot of money in 1982.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I had bought a car. And my math was simple. Those times, they used to pay us $25 an hour for moonlighting.
Yeah.
So I said, for my home payment, I had to work for 10 nights.
Yeah.
For my car, I had to work for 2 nights. So I was prepared to spend 12 nights in a hospital to ensure I achieve my dream. The other thing is I had bought a practice using my signature and leverage. And the way I calculated was that I bought it for $120,000. If I can make $12,000, I am okay. So that $12,000 would be the interest expense. So if I can earn more than $12,000, I am home free. And that's how I have been taking calculated business risks and doing things that not an average physician would do.
Would you say it comes from a kind of Gujarati work ethic, a kind of Gujarati DNA?
It will be a Gujarati DNA, but my dad was putting in 14, 16 hours a day throughout his life. And one of his favorite sentences was, change of work is vacation. We never had vacation, but when you are doing one type of work and you move to another, that's vacation. And truly, I believe that when you enjoy the work you are doing. So when I was in my practice and when I'm going on a vacation, I would give my work to 3 physicians to cover me. Hospital work, nursing home, and outside calls. Each one of them will complain that, my goodness, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
And here I was alone taking care of all that.
Yeah.
But I never had a problem because I thoroughly enjoyed what I did. So it was fun for me all the time. It was never work.
Yeah. You are unique among Indian American entrepreneurs and philanthropists. You are not someone who developed and grew $1 billion company. You grew not 1, not 2, but 3. And these companies were innovative, that had an impact on the public at large. How did that take place, and how did you grow those companies to what they were, and how did you make sure that it was going to have an impact on the public at large, that it was not always just about the bottom line?
So I can start how I got into healthcare insurance business.
Yes.
In 80s, there was a new concept of health maintenance organization.
Yeah, the HMOs. Yeah.
HMOs. And nobody wanted to see those patients. Now, when I graduated, my father had written a letter to me and told me, do not forget why you are becoming a physician.
Yeah.
So the majority of physicians in the United States had a philosophy of looking at the insurance and then deciding whether they'll see a patient or not.
Yeah.
We had a reverse policy.
Yeah.
See anybody that comes to the door, take care of them, and then worry about the money. So when nobody wanted to see the HMO patients, automatically somebody like me who wanted to see them became a magnet for those population. And in that sense, I was able to develop 26 locations throughout the Tampa Bay area. So what I sometimes say, that if you do the right things for right reasons, the right result will follow. The other thing is, my dad used to say, don't chase money, let the money chase you. And simply put, if you are focused only to a bottom line, then you are bound to do unethical things to ensure the bottom line is on the top. But if your focus is in ensuring that your primary mission is patient and patient care, then that's what you focus on, automatically other things will follow.
Your commitment to where you live has been very manifest in all of your speeches that I've followed, in all of the remarks you've made over the years. You've spoken about the Clearwater area, the Tampa Bay area, etc. Why is it so important to you that you start off essentially by giving back so much and trying to innovate, have these institutions right here where you live?
So one thing that in my mind, and these were my exact words of my dad, that if you want to feel like you have $1 million, which was a lot in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but you don't want to use it for any good purpose, then you might as well put million stones in the bank and consider that $1 million. So effectively, any amount of money that you have, if it is only used for self-indulgence, then it has no value. And once you are gone, you don't know what will happen with that money. But instead, my concept was to use it in a manner that will be valuable. So when I talk of philanthropy, I say that whenever you do philanthropy, there is a feel-good and a do-good philanthropy. So focus on the do-good philanthropy. By that, I mean it has to be impactful.
Purposeful.
Yeah. The second point I make is it has to be replicable. And the third point I make is it has to be sustainable. Because you cannot continuously go to people with a begging bowl and say, I'm doing great work, help me, and I can keep on doing it. So the type of investments I have made in philanthropic side is partnering with places like university or performing arts so that it will be perpetually producing children, kids that are going to be impacting the world. So when you talk about the medical college today, there will be 625 doctors annually coming out of Patel College. The Patel College of Osteopathic Medicine and Patel College of Allopathic Medicine. No university or no college in the United States can claim that. We will be having a medical college that will produce 150 doctors, and subsequently a second college that will produce another 300 doctors. So by 2025, we will be producing 1,000 doctors from the Patel College of Medicine globally.
Yeah.
And now think about this. Each person will have a contact to 50 or so patients a day. So 1,000 doctors have 50,000 contacts daily. And now multiply that 1,000 by the 30, 40, 50 years of their lifespan. So at a point there will be 50,000 doctors from Patel colleges in the world and every day touching 50 or so lives. You can see the impact it has created. So no amount of money can buy that type of positive impact on the world. So whenever I spend something, I wanted to make sure that it is going to be effective, impactful, and really transformational. And that's what I've been achieving through education.
I know one of your biggest dreams and also of Pallavi was to start this medical college and medical colleges. Why did you go with NSU? And that has your philanthropic contribution to NSU has been the largest philanthropic contribution you've made. Why did you go with NSU instead of starting your own medical school? Was it that such a collaboration was going to bring the kind of synergy that ultimately you had in mind?
See, when I wanted to do this project, the first question my children brought was, are you having resources to ensure that you will have quality and you can do these things? Which was a very valid question. Sure. And when I encountered NSU, I found two things. It was a young university with a medical college that was in existence for 35 years. So I had at least an institutional partnership that is going to be there so that the quality issues and all those are gone, management issues are gone, and the licensing issue was very much solved because expanding a program takes 2 years, while getting a new license may take 5. So I was able to reach my milestone very fast. They were also receptive in starting a college in India. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Yeah. I was able to get quality medical education started in United States and expanding it to India and subsequently to Africa.
And I know you're very, very conscious about your roots from Kabwe in Zambia and then, of course, Gujarati, India. Are you going to replicate the NSU model in those places? Is that your next move?
Yes, if you only focus on medical education, I want you to know already I have high school in Zambia.
Yeah.
I have a HIV hospice center in Zambia. We have high school in India. We have hospitals in India. So there is a lot of work that is happening in the fields of education and health in both the continents.
Yeah.
But I would like to expand it such that we will be able to provide formal medical education and paramedical education because there is a tremendous shortage for all of this.
So this is part of your ultimate goal of being the quintessential global citizen?
Exactly. I say many times I was born in Zambia, studied under the British system, went for my college to India and then settled in United States. So I am either a nomad or a global citizen.
There is no denying that you're a role model for, young people or middle-aged people or any people of any age. What advice would you give for young physicians, young entrepreneurs, those who want to make a difference and change the world?
So first and foremost, you have to have the vision, the desire, the passion to do something. It may be fashionable to get involved with something, but that's not what you want to do. It may give you a pop for a 1 day, 2 days, but unless you can be consistent, so I will say perseverance, persistence, hard work, and I say many times that you got to eat, breathe, drink, and sleep the project. So if you really believe in something, you better make sure you are giving it more than 100% to that project. And only then you will be successful. There is no microwave in life.
You've been married to Pallavi for 45 years. How much of a catalyst has she been in all what you've achieved, in all of your endeavors? Have you all guys been always in sync? Has she been in with all of your plans? Has she been your most tough critic? What kind of role has Pallavi played in terms of, or has it been a joint venture?
Tough critic would be the first one. I say this, that your life partner can kill your dreams in 2 ways. One is maybe tough critic, but that's in a positive way. But the second most important one is not allowing you to do what you want to do. So stepping aside is also a huge role that your partner can play. And third, in times of crisis, even if she believes in a project or not, even if she thought it was my right decision or not, if it was my decision in times of challenges, if she jumps in, which she does, to ensure I go on the proper path. So the role has been not always everybody agrees on everything because you are two different individuals and you may have 2 different philosophies. But the fact that she would never stop me from doing what I really want to do, she will try, she will give me the pointers why this is the wrong thing, but ultimately she'll respect my decision. And that's the important aspect. And then on that path, if there are bumps, then she will be there to smoothen up those bumps and help me in whatever form she can.
You've been someone who's not been apologetic about enjoying your wealth. You've got beautiful homes, you've got fast cars, you've got your own aircraft, etc. Sometimes we guys who come from South Asia have a certain kind of guilt about enjoying wealth, and some would call it indulging in ostentation. What's your philosophy on that whole aspect of enjoying your wealth?
So 2 things. In Eastern culture or in our religious way, God has never said, do not make money. In fact, God says, make plenty of money. Make as much as you can. But earn that money ethically and use it ethically or wisely. So when I look at myself, I would say that I am not even using 1% of the interest I would have earned from the money I have given away. So you can imagine if somebody gave away $100 million, 1% is $1 million. For somebody to use $1 million annually is very difficult. But when you're given several $100 million, then what I'm trying to tell you is that I believe I am not doing any harm to anybody in using a very small percentage of the monies. If I would have kept the interest alone, would be more than sufficient to feed my lifestyle 5 times. So in fact, I am more conservative in using the money than what people may see. What appears there, it's up to individual to decide. But I also believe that if you have worked hard, you have earned the money, you have the right to use it and spend it. But don't flaunt it, don't be arrogant about it, and make sure, most of all, the first and foremost mission you have is to take care of somebody. Then on the leftovers, you can use it for yourself. It's no harm.
What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want your epitaph to read?
See, legacy is difficult to say, but when I'm gone, nobody after 20 years will know who is Kiran. So it is a mistake for somebody to think that I am leaving a legacy. But what I would put it differently is, I want to leave an impact on this earth that is long, when I'm long gone, still going to be impacting the generations to come. And for that reason, I've been focusing on education and health. If you think about it, the best gift you can give to anybody is education, because that transforms him and empowers him to be what he wants to be. The second thing, most people will agree that without health, everything else is of no use. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much brains you have, if you don't have good health, you have a problem. So hence my focus is on the 2 areas of health and education. Lastly, what I feel, that if I leave some of my wealth that is dedicated to sustain these entities or organizations, I think at least I know that when I'm gone, where some of my money is going to be used. The other portion that has gone to kids or anybody else or trustees, I don't know what will happen with it. I don't know what decisions they will make. But at least while I was alive, what I thought was good, I will empower them to continue evolving in these areas. So health and education is both a requirement that will never go away as long as this planet Earth exists. And that's where I would like to focus.
Thank you very much, Kiran. It's been an absolute delight. And thank you again for sitting down with us on this hot and humid summer afternoon in Florida. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aziz.